There were many familiar faces who played a part in King Charles III's coronation ceremony, including Tory MP Penny Mordaunt. The leader of the House of Commons carried a sword at the historic event as Lord President of the Privy Council, a role she has undertaken since September last year. Dressed in a teal blue dress with gold detail and matching cape, Miss Mordaunt carried the 17th century sword of state into the Abbey before presenting it to the king in the throne. It was the first time in history that the jeweled sword of offering has been carried and presented to the monarch by a woman. The intricately detailed sword was made for George IV's coronation in 1821. It is encrusted with diamonds, rubies, and emeralds and is decorated with jeweled roses, thistles, and shamrocks. The sword was blessed by the Archbishop of Canterbury and then presented to the king by Miss Mordaunt, who wore a £2,000 Rani dress by Atelier Safia. It had been carried into the Westminster Abbey by Petty Officer Amy Taylor, who became the first woman to undertake the duty of carrying the sword into the Abbey after being selected to represent servicemen and women as a tribute to the king's military career. The sword, which symbolizes royal power, was placed in the king's right hand, then clipped into his girdle and eventually unclipped. The king then stepped forward and offered the sword to the dean, who placed it into the altar. The sword was then redeemed by Miss Mordaunt, who placed the redemption money on an alms dish held by the dean before drawing the sword and carrying it in its naked form without its scabbard. Notable figures including a number of fellow MPs praised her, with Labour MP Emily Thornberry tweeting, "Get to say it, Penny Mordaunt looks damn fine, the sword bearer steals the show." Author and columnist Caitlin Moran also commented on the social media post around Miss Mordaunt's role, saying, "Penny Mordaunt's sword is the Pippa Middleton's palm of the coronation." Labour MP Chris Bryant quipped in a tweet, "The penny is mightier than the sword." Speaking to the Times Red Box Politics podcast ahead of the ceremony, she also disclosed she had been doing some press-ups in preparation for her sword-carrying role. Miss Mordaunt, who is also the leader of the House of Commons, explained, "The Lord President of Council is really the chairman of the King's Privy Council. It used to be the executive for the king, and it still does a lot of business, and it is an important part for our constitution and the authority that we have in Parliament. On the day I am representing the king's authority, and I am going to be doing a number of things." She added that she had been practicing in rehearsals with weighted replicas and that her experience in the Navy had helped prepare her for standing for long periods of time without fainting. Asked about being around the king with a big pointy sword, Miss Mordaunt admitted she did feel a terrible weight of responsibility. Discussing how she feels this ceremony fits into modern life, Miss Mordaunt added, "I think this is really important to the country. I think the monarchy survives and persists because it adapts and it changes and it is always relevant. And I think that in this coronation, yes, it is going to be royal and marvelous and mystical and spiritual and everything that you would expect it to be, but it will be modern as well. And there is always a great chat before an event like this. Has it gone too far one way? Has it gone too far the other way? And we always get absolutely spot on."